The histogram is one more dialog in the GIMP. Windows Dockable Dialogs. Histogram. I want it free on my desktop and it is resizable because I want it to be wide enough. The horizontal y-axis represents pixel values from 0 to 255, and the vertical axis represents the relative number of pixels that correspond to these values. Calling the dialog, initially you see the so-called pseudo-channel value, which is a useful thing, a useful concept. It is defined with this function. That is to say, it picks the maximum value of the three channel values, the red, the green and the blue. This pseudo-channel value curve offers an initial general evaluation. If I want an insight in color, I can select the red channel, the green channel, the blue channel, or any other channel the image, the layer may have, for example alpha. Now this one does not have an alpha channel. Or you can even select RGB to have all channels together. For any one of these, by clicking on the diagram, I get some statistics about the specific value. For example, now I clicked on the value 57. I can even drag to define a certain tonal range to get statistics for the specific tonal range. For example, now my range is from value 58 to 90. Okay, now let us see some histograms so that you can get an idea of how to read the histograms for your images. Let's start with this one. This is a typical landscape photo that can be considered generally correct, technically correct, as expected. The curve starts close to the 0 point, goes up and ends down close to the 255. From black to white. Precisely, there are almost no pixels at the value 0. That is to say, no pixels that are completely black. There are a few pixels that are white, absolutely white, and all colors in the image filling up the intermediate range. That's nice, one might say. The scene was shot at the right exposure and the camera captured all tones and colors evenly. Okay, let's see this one. It is a so-called low-key photo. The histogram shifts to the left. The image has more dark pixels than light ones. There was an appropriate exposure, so all those dark tones were captured. There is no clipping on the left side of the histogram. Everything was captured, nothing was lost. Let us check this one. Here we do have shadow clipping on the left. But still, all pixel values are present from 0 to 255. This one here is a high-key photo. The histogram shifts to the right severely, and it ends abruptly, not just before the 255 point. We have highlight clipping. The lost highlights are not recoverable. They simply were not captured. And apart from that, there are no values in the shadows. All this means that the shot was unrecoverably overexposed. It was simply wrongly exposed. Let's see this one. Here we have a relatively high contrast. there is a significant difference between the shadows and the highlights. We can see on the histogram two main tonal ranges, one for the shadows on the left and one for the highlights on the right, and with relatively few tones in the mid-tones in between them. We have the opposite in this one. We have mainly mid-tones and we do not have many shadows or highlights. So histograms can be very different from one image to another. A histogram may be not quite correct theoretically, let me say technically speaking in the strict sense, but still you can have an acceptable image. This is an example. You can say that this histogram is awful. There are only few values severely pushed to the left. But you might say that this photo conveys the feeling of the moment. It was the atmosphere of the evening sun falling on little Roxy. This one is also an extreme case. There are a few values pushed insanely to the right and with clipping. But the funny thing is that this photo has been praised quite enough. Okay, let me finish with the example of a non-continuous tone image. This is a graphical drawing that contains actually 5 colors: the white, the black, and 3 intermediate tone areas. The histogram, of course, is not a continuum. There are only pixels on 5 values that represent the 5 areas inside the image.